Now, listen very carefully. Remember, they are at war with us. They're always at war with us. They're in Dar al Harb. They're in the house of war right now. The only time they can be at Dar es Salam, the house of peace, is if they conquer the whole world, right? And everyone becomes Muslim. The person of Christ on the cross says, Father, forgive them, and love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you. Muhammad says, kill the infidel, curse the Christian and Jew, and expand by any means necessary. I don't think everyone else is going to become Muslim. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't see it. I don't see it. So, yeah, and I think that means that there is only one kind of way out of it, really.
But every single one agrees that if you leave the Islamic religion, you should not be alive.
They might even think like, oh yeah, we're going to win England. Like, there's no chance. There's no chance, but it's going to be a very painful, bloody battle to reclaim that.
Should we be more conservative in our politics or less conservative? No. It's more like, how should we shoot them?
Before we begin, as a special favor to me, could I ask that you subscribe to the channel? It costs you nothing, but means the world to us. Recently, YouTube was nice enough to delete our old account. But fortunately, that hasn't stopped us. In fact, we're more determined than ever, and that's why we need your support. Anyways, enough from me. I hope you enjoy. Okay, just a little bit of an intro then. Like, you know, there's so much going on in the world today. It's very easy to lose track. And although I have many concerns of what's happening overseas, being that I'm from the UK, a big worry is Islam. And, you know, I spend a lot of time researching the religion. And although I can find a lot of things which are good, I can also see a lot of things which are just categorically bad and really doesn't seem to align with Western or British values. I also find whenever I bring up the bad stuff to my Muslim friends, they will either say it's not true or that you've taken it out of context. So, you know, you can imagine how happy I was to come across yourself. As someone who knows the literature so well and being ex-Muslim, you really understand what's going on.
Yeah, well, whatever you say, they're going to say is taken out of context. So, unless it's good. Like, if you say, like, oh, you know, in Islam, they say, like, you can give charity. That's never out of context. But anything negative is out of context. So
Exactly. So it's really hard for me to kind of figure out what is right and what is wrong. What do you believe in? Where is the line exactly? You know.
And what does every like individual Muslim believe too? Because Islam is an idea, it's a concept, a philosophy, a religion, and Muslims are. There's many different types of Muslims around the world. They don't all believe the same thing. So
yeah, and you could say that about any religion, you know, that there seems to be this spectrum, but obviously the big concern is how many would maybe be on the far right, the more extremist end, and you know, we'll get into it later, but yeah, how peaceful is it exactly, you know? So
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say. Well, I was going to go right into it. When it comes to Islam, it's very. I'm just gonna start talking. But when it comes to Islam, it's like the far right or the far left of Islam. Like, yes, there's different ideas about Islam. There's different concepts, different sectarian divides. But at the end of the day, Islam is Islam. Like, let's just take any other religion. Let's take like Judaism. There's conservative, there's Orthodox Jews, there's Reformed Jews, but the core tenets are basically to keep the Jewish community close to what their concept of the divine is, to follow these laws and to stay like homogenous, and they don't really evangelize to people. So in reality, like Jewish communities in the modern world, like if whether in North America or Europe, they live quite peacefully with everyone because they're not trying to really push their ideology on others, right? Christians, I would say, especially when you think of the person of Jesus, rather you believe that's a religious figure or you just take it as a philosophy or just whatever, a moral book. It's really just basically based on the concept of do unto others what you want them to do to you and to love each other and to take care of society. And it basically built Western society. And in Christianity, there's no rule about like unaliving apostates. There's no rule about what happens when you leave Christianity. You can leave. No one's going to do anything in the modern time. What happens if you're a homosexual in Christianity? People might disagree with you. They might pray for you, and people can agree disagree about that, the whole thing, and like gay marriage and all that. But no Christian's going to read the words of Jesus and come to the conclusion that we should unalive gay people. No one's going to think that. Now, when it comes to Islam, it's really like the core tenets of the religion is very different than most other religions. It's not really evangelizing through free will. It's not really trying to keep the community homogenous, but rather it's I don't even want to say evangelizing, but rather conquering by force. So when Islam spread, it gave three options to everyone. It said you can either become Muslim, you can pay something called the jizya, the tax, and that has been different throughout history. Sometimes it's been lower, sometimes it's been higher. Um, in the jizya, you can also. I'm laughing because it's going to remind you of something. They put a symbol on you to show if you're a Jew or a Christian. It's almost like a little Star of David or
Nice little
like
armband.
a yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And just
yeah,
to
yeah.
show you, and they put you on the other side of the street, and you can't build your churches or synagogues or whatever. And if you're like a polytheist, you believe in many gods, then you just get like you get unalived right away. You're gone.
Hmm.
So, and now if you don't want to, if you want to remain a Christian or a Jew, you're like the polytheists. So when we talk about right or left Islam, all Muslims believe this. This is part of the core tenets. Now it's rather how do we like put this on society? Should we do it by being quote unquote peaceful and going into politics? Or should we do it on the far right by terrorism, by expanding, by taking over cities? That's the difference between far left and far right Islam. The ideology is exactly the same. So we can't think of it as if they're not coming from the same book or are not coming from the same ideology.
Mm.
They're both fighting, and the term in Arabic is dar al harb, is we are in the house of war. They're fighting in the house of war. They're just using different tactics. The quote unquote liberal Muslim is using the tactics of putting themselves in our political system to bring Sharia law. The right, or whatever you want to call it, conservative Muslim, is basically just becoming ISIS. That's the difference. So that's why when people say like, oh well, there's moderate Muslims and there's conservative Muslims and then there's liberal Muslims, it's not. It doesn't matter. The ideology is
Mm.
still dangerous. They're still conquering you. One's just conquering you and you're not noticing it. The other one's conquering you and you see it in the streets.
Wow, that's the first time I've heard that really explained. And that makes a lot of sense because then they also say, because what is like the term in Islam for conquering, you know, for the sake of Islam?
Well, there's jihad. Like it's the whole.
Jihad.
Jihad literally means struggle. It's
Right.
a struggle to conquer, and the only time that there will be peace on earth is when Islam conquers the entire world.
Right, exactly. Like that is the ultimate goal. And I mean it should be, I'm not a fully fledged Christian yet. I'd say like I'm on my like spiritual journey or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
Christianity has the same goal. It's just the means are completely different, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
like you say, there's not any part of the book in the Bible where you can find Jesus, who's meant to be the perfect example, how to live by. There's not a single example you can find of him, acting on violence or acting of like unjust aggression, attacking someone who's innocent.
Well,
Um,
I make this joke where it's like a Jew who becomes more religious stops eating pork. A Christian who becomes more religious becomes more loving and kind of minds his own business and goes to church. What happens to a Muslim who becomes more religious?
Go
We all
on.
know. We all know what happens to the Muslim who becomes more religious. It's not the Muslim's fault even. The Muslims are victims of this. But there's something with that specific religion that's doing something. And it's interesting, like, yes, we've had Catholics versus Protestants, we've had Hindus versus Sikhs, but we also had Muslims versus everyone. Like, why is it everyone that cannot get along with this? It's not like people have been able to move on from history with different religious conflicts and cultural conflicts, but somehow this one group, wherever they go,
Mm,
is not integrating and it's conflicting with everything, every
yeah.
society. So it's really something you have to look into. And I don't have to I don't have to speak for itself. The book speaks for itself. Like you can just read the life of Muhammad from Muslim sources and realize why this is happening. So I don't have to say much. I like when I do my videos or my reels online, I just read what it says. It speaks for itself.
Yeah, yeah, and I also saw how the modern jihad isn't so much about spreading Islam by the sword as it classically was, but
Mm-hmm.
now the modern jihad is politics. It's getting as many people into politics as you can, and I mean I don't know if you've seen this, but in the UK we have so many the mayor of London is Muslim. We have recently our is it the Home Secretary is now Muslim. She was sworn in by the Quran. And so you can
Wait,
kind of
she was
see
sworn in by the Quran.
she was sworn in by the Quran. Yeah, this was in England.
Man, I guess why not at this point, huh? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
this is
it's so
it.
crazy.
Like England, England is not a Christian country, and possibly, I speak to other people about this. Possibly because Islam is so much more pro force and doing
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. Maybe the MPs and stuff are willing to bend a knee out of fear, right? But yeah, Christian is dead. I mean, in terms of the state, it's completely dead.
In terms of the state, yes, but I don't think England will 100% fall. England was the home of Anglican Christianity, and well, Anglicanism's going on and off. Whatever, I don't know what Anglicanism is doing anymore, but in a general sense, like that history can't just vanish in less than 100 years. 100 years ago, this wasn't a thing. I remember when someone's gonna like fix what I'm going to say because I'm going to get it completely wrong. But I was reading this book in a literature class at my university, and in the book it was like the 1890s, and it was in London. And the professor asked me because I was my actual degree was about theology, and he was asking me, "Hey, so how many mosques do you think there were in London at the time?" Because it talked about a mosque, and I was like, "Oh, there's probably like 6 or 7." And you're like, "No, that was the only mosque in the British Isles, not just London. There was one mosque in the entire British Isles, and they only built it because of some diplomat or something. So there was like 5 people praying there. But
Mm,
now, how many mosques are in England compared to churches? How many devout Muslims are there compared to
yeah,
Christians? And that
yeah,
was only the 1890s, and now it's like what 150 years later. Like it
yeah.
surprises me how quickly a culture can just be destroyed, and it's because we've taken for granted everything that came before us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my personal view is this is not done by mistake. This is, I mean, I think it should be very obvious to people what Islam and Christianity, like if you put these two groups into one area, like what the outcome will be eventually.
Yeah.
So I don't see Islam as winning, but at the same time, I see there being a lot of hate, a lot of bloodshed over something which is I feel they're just being used as a tool as well, to be honest with you. Like
Mm-hmm.
they might even think like, oh yeah, we're going to win England. Like there's no chance. There's no chance, but it's going to be a very painful, bloody battle to reclaim that.
I
And
must say, yeah, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
no, go ahead.
I must say, I am worried for Europe in a general sense when it comes to the topic of civil war. I'm really worried about that because there's really two groups. There's the people who want Sharia law in Europe and everyone else. Like there's going to be people teaming. There's going to be Christians and secularists and everyone else teaming up against these individuals. And the issue is, it's like, yeah, we might win this, but at what cost? Like how many people? And this is not something I want. I do not want this to ever happen. But
Yeah,
the more and more it seems that it's about to happen, and there is a change in the political sphere. Like we not just in Europe, like we see in North America, like with Charlie Kirk assassination, was the whole Donald Trump. Rather, whatever you think about him, like from 2015 onward, the last 10, 15 years has been very different than the 10, 15 years before it, and the 10, 15 years before that. There is
yeah,
a huge tension between these two worlds, and this might be like a what's it called? A shameful plug. But I'm actually working on a book about this, and I have no idea when it's going to come out. It might be 20 years from now. But basically, it's about this culture clash where one is about Islamic culture and one's about Western culture, and they can't intermix. It's not possible for them to intermix. And what we're doing is we're taking people from the Islamic culture and we're just throwing them into Western countries. We're taking a bunch of very radical people from the Middle East and like Desi countries like India and Bangladesh. We're throwing them into Canada, the United States. We're throwing them into the UK. We're throwing them into France, and we're basically just hoping for the best. And that hasn't really happened ever in society.
Right.
That's never happened in human history before, where you take two completely different cultures and just mix them together. And everything from the smallest thing to the largest thing is different. From freedom of speech, what can you say? We stand for like you can say whatever you want as long as you're not inciting people to go hurt other people. If you want to say your opinion, freedom of expression, go for it. But this culture tells us that you can't say everything. You talk bad about a certain person or a certain book or a certain deity, it's going to be bad for you. Again, when it talks about women's rights, women are equal to men. It doesn't say that in this one. It talks about what should we do with people who are not straight. Should we leave them alone to do with their own thing and agree to disagree, or should we do something a lot worse? Again, we disagree on this one. From everything, from the smallest thing in society to the largest thing, it's
Yeah.
completely the opposite. And we're expecting this to just go like hunky dory and like kumbaya and we're all gonna be fine and diversity is our strength and like it's insane. It's actually insane. And that's my rant for today. So that's my,
No, I appreciate it because people really
yeah.
do need to understand this. Like,
Mhm.
is there any chance, like long term, do you think, for Islam to actually integrate with Western societies?
The only chance is if all Muslims become very non-religious. That is the only chance. If somehow there was a wave of Islam not being taken, if Islam becomes like Judaism, where it becomes like an ethnicity and not a religion, then
Mm.
maybe. But I don't see that happening because it's too big, and every single denomination of Islam teaches things that go against the Western values. A good example is like the death penalty. What do you do when someone leaves a religion? All four schools of thought in Sunni Islam and the main school of thought in Shia Islam all say apostates should not be alive. That now they disagree on what to do. Some say you should give them 3 days to repent. Some say 3 weeks. Some say maybe 3 months. But every single one agrees that if you leave the Islamic religion, you should not be alive. Same thing with
Wow.
people who are homosexual. Every single Muslim denomination agrees. And it says, I was actually looking it up today for a whole different video. The Prophet Muhammad said, if you see someone doing this act, if you take that person and the person being done to, and they shouldn't be alive. Every single denomination. Now again, how do we do it? Do we stone them? Do we throw them off buildings? Do we electrocute them to death? That is the difference in the denomination. It's not like Christian denominations where it's like, is this bread like Jesus or is it not Jesus? Should we be more conservative in our politics or less conservative? No. It's more like how should we shoot them? Should we shoot them tomorrow or the next day? That's the differences we're talking about here. And again, we're going back to the beginning where it's like liberal or conservative Muslim. That's the liberal ones just saying, "Hey, we're going to take over anyway. Let them live for now."
Hmm.
The conservative one's saying, "Nah, we'll do it now and get it over with."
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I guess, yeah, either the Islamic side loses their faith and they kind of assimilate, or the other alternative is everyone else just becomes Muslim or
I
gets
don't think
killed.
everyone else is going to become Muslim. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't see it. I don't see it. So yeah, and I think that means that there is only one kind of way out of it, really.
I think what is going to happen is the world's going to be divided between Islamic law and Western law. And we're going to have to say, listen, if you want Islamic law, you live in a Muslim country. If you want Western law, you live in a Western country. And we just can't intermix. Now, that sounds insane, and I might get canceled for just saying that for some reason, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's like having a communist capitalist or an anarchist who loves government. It makes no sense. They just don't interact with each other. It doesn't make any rational sense. And people try to make it rational, but it doesn't. And we have to be able to say the truth. We have to be able to say, hey, these two things are not compatible. If you want this, be my guest, but I don't want it. So you're not my guest in my country.
This is the sad thing, isn't it? Like, you're right. We do need to have these conversations, and even I find myself thinking about this all the time. Like, what is the ultimate peaceful solution? What is the way that everyone can be as harmonious as possible? And the more I read into it, like, I don't see how these two mix. I don't. So, what is the solution? And I think, like you say, segregation. It sounds like the most evil thing in the world. If my younger self heard me say that, I'd think I've turned into someone who's pure evil. But in terms of keeping the peace, if they can't mix, if they do mix, that's more than likely gonna end up in violence or bloodshed or some kind of bad thing. Yep. At least if they're separated, they can all go about their own business however they like.
And also, people should have a choice. Like, if they're in Muslim countries and want to live in the West and they're able to integrate, okay. But we can't. Sure. When you come to these countries, you can't leave the country you're escaping and then make the country you come to the country you're escaping. I never understood that.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't try and push Christianity in an Islamic country, not just because I might get killed, but I just wouldn't anyway.
But, I know what you mean.
With the far left as well, they have this joint effort with Islam, you see. And do you think that if people in the far left knew about, like, all the things which happen within Islam, if Islam was to take over, how they'd be treated, do you think if they realized all that stuff, would they still be working together?
They realize it. They already know it's not compatible. Subconsciously, as in, like, they already know subconscious. I think so. I think it's not about. So there's two types of people in the far left. I think one's the minority that they actually believe. And now I used to think the opposite. Let me say what I'm going to think first. I think the minority is right now that people are like, oh, these people are brown. They're not white. The white man is the bad man. Therefore, by default, the Muslim brown man is the good person.
Right. He's the victim.
I think that's the minority now. But maybe back in, like, 2010, 2015, that was majority, but not anymore. I think now they actually just heavily dislike us. They really dislike the right. Why? It baffles me. Maybe because people don't like the truth. I don't know. But the majority now are like, yeah, maybe Islam, like, give or take, is not that great, but I hate the right more than I disagree with Islam. Therefore, I want more Muslims and less people on the right. Now this I think that's the majority now, because I just don't believe. For example, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who should never be Prime Minister, stood up and he's like, Muslim values are Canadian values. This man's been around the world. He's met people from around the world. He's not an idiot. I might disagree with him with a lot of stuff, but he knows damn well that Muslim values are not Canadian values. So why is he saying that? He's saying that because he's pushing an image. He's saying, hey, the Conservative Party and the right is so bad for some reason that Muslim values are actually more in line with Canada than even the Conservative Party of Canada. That's what I'm hearing. In my mind, they're trying. The the people on the left are dividing our country so much, they would rather have people that disagree with them on core doctrines and values in their country than their own citizens. And I couldn't explain this more. I already brought it up, but it hit me. It really, this is the new theory that I have, but it hit me significantly because of what happened with Charlie Kirk. And I brought him up again, and I'm not trying to keep bringing him up, but when that happened, I was so much in shock by the people who were celebrating it. Regardless of what you think about this man, you could hate his guts. Why are we celebrating someone being assassinated? You know how much hatred you have to have for someone to celebrate their assassination? That's a lot of hatred. And in my mind, that means they love the people who are not even like American citizens in this context. They love these people who are not American citizens, who are illegally coming to the country, who are supporting organizations like Hamas, who want terrorism. They like them more than their own citizen, just because their own citizen believed in things they don't believe in, and they celebrate his death. You see where I'm getting at?
100%. Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
This is it. And especially when you think of how the left started. You know, the left were the people for free speech. The left were the anti-war group, you know, back in the, I don't know, 80s, say, 70s, whatever. Mm-hmm. And these were meant to, progressive generally had a good kind of image, right? And it's allowed itself to be consumed with hate so much. They want the toppling of the regime so much that they will partner with anyone who also wants that you know, same thing. So they've become blind with hatred, I feel. And anyone who has a different opinion to them, there's also this like tribalism aspect. Anyone with a different opinion, clearly you're my enemy, you know. And the social medias and stuff do a really good job at promoting both the extremes. So I guess people are just seeing the worst of both groups. But yes, to align, like, you know, you must be more than aware, but to align with the left and Islam, especially what happened in Iran in the 70s, like how can you be blind to that, you know?
They're not blind to it. Yeah, I don't believe it. Like, they're not blind. They know what they're doing. Like you said, it was planned. Like the whole thing in the UK was planned. I think this is planned. I think they know what they're doing, and I also think people are waking up to it. I really do. I don't know anyone under the age of like 40 who really agrees with these things. They basically just might say it in their like work environment or stuff, just to not get in trouble. But behind closed doors, most people I talk to now all know it's ridiculous. Now, maybe I live in a bubble.
Or woke?
Both. Islam, everything on this left thing, like whatever's going on, they're all like people who are like not religious at all are like, man, what is like this sounds like a conspiracy, like a religious conspiracy. Like they're saying is like Satan's in the back doing all these things, and then people who are religious believe that, and then there's people who are just like atheist conservatives and are like, what is? Are there like all these like the Rothschild people are all sitting there and they're like, what's happening? Like, how is this? It's all aligning so well, but people are waking up to it, and I got to give props to social media, honestly, for doing it. Social media has some terrible things on it, but we've been able to really see them lying, like to our faith.
Yeah,
they just lied to us from the last like. That hasn't been really clear before COVID, but when COVID happened, like afterwards, it just became. I'm not even just talking about like the jab or anything, but just in general, because we were all in our houses, we saw stuff. We saw how quickly people just like, again, regardless if you agree with it or not, just kind of just isolate themselves because the government said so. And everyone's just like, why did I say yes to this? And they get the jab, and then they're like, I'm good now. But no, apparently you're not good. You got to get another one. Then you got to get it every 10 years, or 10 days, sorry. And then every time you get every 10 days, you got to get like your 20th shot. And then after that, you got to get like this. Do you remember? They made us all get, I don't know if you guys did this in the UK, probably because it's UK, but we had like a COVID vaccine passport where you couldn't go to certain places without it. They
Yeah.
did that for like a year. I totally forget about this. Like they just took our rights away like that, and then before I knew it, I was back to normal. Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
It was like the war in Ukraine started, and then all of a sudden, COVID's gone. And it's just like what? Like
Literally.
what?
Literally. Yeah.
And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just again, this has nothing to do with a lot of topics, but I think people are waking up. They're like, what happened in the early 2020s? What was all that about? Like, we were all talking about freedom of speech and our rights and standing up for ourselves, and these are our countries. And before we know, we're in our doors voluntarily with ID cards and getting a, a thing that we don't really know what's in it just jabbed in us every couple of weeks. Like that's a wild thing to think about. Is that not like like that happened? That's not like in a book.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, this is in some ways, yeah. COVID was a good thing because it did force people to wake up. Like, hang on, this does feel kind of evil. This feels a bit sinister. Why am
Mm-hmm.
I being forced to isolate? Why can I not see my nan? Why can't I see, my grandparents? Why are they being left all alone, isolated, possibly, sick or dying? And you're telling me I can't see them? Like,
You want
make that
to
make sense,
you want to hear the craziest thing ever? I worked online from home, and they said I would lose my job if I didn't get double vaccinated. I work online from home, and they threatened that I would lose my job if I didn't get vaccinated.
Well, hey, look, listen. COVID spreads through Wi-Fi, so to be fair,
And I was like, that's when it first hit me. I was like, are you serious? Like, there's something wrong here. Like,
yeah,
I don't even have to. I can just Uber Eats everything. I don't have to leave my house. Like, if it's that bad. But no,
yeah,
apparently my computer is gonna get sick. Like, it was just. Sorry, I just
yeah.
remember
No,
that.
you're right.
It was
You're right.
hilarious. Yeah.
And we did have the vaccine passport as well. And
Mm-hmm.
now, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, but now this is people say that was the first phase, getting people used to that kind of thing. Now
Mm-hmm.
it is the digital ID. And again, it is just about compliance. It's not even about, it wasn't even about the jab to begin with. It was just saying like, okay, we're telling you to do this, you will do it, or we're going to shut you out of society. The exact same thing is happening now with the digital ID. You will do this. I mean, the only difference with this now is, it will link to your bank account. It will link with your job. It will link with every aspect of your life. So if you don't comply, well, you've just lost your job. Well, now you can't access your own money, which you've worked for. That's where we're going.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I think some people are gonna fall for it again, but I think governments are more weary about this stuff because they saw the backlash after COVID.
Yeah, rightly so.
They
Yeah.
they were like I think they're actually kind of surprised how many people didn't get it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
Yeah.
we couldn't do it. So yeah.
Sorry, you guys want rights. You want
Yeah,
civil
why aren't you
liberties.
guys you're not falling blindly? That's crazy. Yeah.
So actually, I did just to get a bit. This was going to be the start, but we can get into it a bit now because you have a very unique perspective. Obviously,
Hmm.
you grew up. Where were you from originally?
My dad's from Egypt, so a lot of my childhood I grew up in Egypt. But I was
Right.
born in Canada. So.
Born in Canada, grew up in Egypt. So, were you Islamic from the get go, or like when did you?
Yeah, so my family is Muslim. My mom's Canadian, but she converted before my birth. So, and when I say converted, it's like a loose conversion. I don't think she believes any of it. But she did it just for like the family's sake. And my dad's quite religious, so I was taught religion from my dad, like at a young
Mm,
age. So that was I, for all intents and purposes, we're very Muslim.
right. And how? Because you also, would it be fair to say you were like a devout Muslim as well?
The older I got, the more devout I got. So around the age of like 13 to 15, I was quite devout. I would say to
Mm.
the extent that like I was two steps away from I don't want to say ISIS, but like like I was like, hey, like I don't know, is it really that bad to kill people who draw pictures of Muhammad? Like I was too like I was like, hey, maybe it's not that bad. Yeah.
How like is that a normal thought process for most people in Islam? Would you say?
I'll tell you this. I went to the most secular school in Egypt, where the teachers are from the U.S. We took our like the literal like. Also, every time I say this, they definitely know what the school is. For whoever's trying to look it up, it's not that hard, but it doesn't matter. So they literally the school standard was like the state of Virginia. Whatever they learned in Virginia was being taught to these random kids in Egypt. So that's it was basically the school was made for people to either get really good jobs in Egypt or go to like countries like in Europe or North America, right? And so we're just taking the state of Virginia tests, and all of our teachers from the U.S. Most secular school in Egypt. People told me multiple times if my brother was a homosexual, I'd kill him myself. This is the most secular school in Egypt.
Right.
I
Yeah.
couldn't even imagine what's going on in the public schools. I couldn't even tell you. Like people would literally say to me, like because we had Egypt has like 15% Christians. There's Christians in Egypt, and
Right.
they don't interact a lot. Like in class and stuff, they interact, but like they kind of like you do your own thing. We're still kind of above you. Just don't try to evangelize too much, or we're gonna kill you, type of thing. So like they kind of keep them do their own thing, and so the Christians are chilling in Egypt, and because I was a Muslim, I kind of like heard what people said behind closed doors about Christians, and all I can say is all I heard was they're unclean, they're worse than dogs. The only
Yeah.
thing worse than a Christian's a Jew because at least the Christians believe in Jesus somewhat. You know, under a real Muslim country, they wouldn't even be at our school. Like these are things being said in the most secular school in Egypt about people's Christian classmates behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, like the Christians in Egypt, like 'cause I was really good friends with them, and I became close enough that like I was going to their houses and I was talking to them normally. They never said anything bad about the Muslims, but they knew that the Muslims were like they were dissing them hardcore. Like they knew they're not stupid. They knew as soon as they left the room that like the Muslims are just going ham on them all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
But somehow they never retaliated and never said anything bad. They really focused on the religion itself. They were like, these Muslims are victims of this ideology, and that's something I really focused on. It's like Muslims are victims. They really are. When you grow up in a religion and a faith that tells you that people are less than you, it's literally like growing up in Hitler Youth your whole life. And people tell you from day one until you're like 30, 40 years old that the Jews are, they should not exist. This is what people hear their entire lives in the Middle East. So the Christians there, they don't blame the Muslims. They blame Islam.
Yeah.
The same way you can't blame the kids in Hitler Youth. You blame Nazis and the people promoting Nazism. Really, it's terrible. And I like the kids in Palestine who learn from Hamas. Hamas teaches them things that are very disgusting. We have video footage where there's people. There are cartoons in the Middle East made by Hamas and Hezbollah and whatever that tells kids about. I'm not laughing because it's funny, but it's just because the beat is very in Arabic. It kind of rhymes, so it's almost like a poem. It's kind of cute, but the words are terrible. The words are really bad, and it's literally about like shooting down Tel Aviv and like and like they're like oh like
I love how
killing
much you're
like
enjoying this.
this is not a good context, but it's like oh like the Jews behind the bush, we're going to find him with our knife, like something like that. Like it's insane. It's
Wow.
like actually
Wow.
crazy, and
Yeah.
like you could just YouTube this yourself. Like just look up like there's this channel called Memory TV, and they translate stuff from the Middle East into English, like not dubbed, but they put like the subtitles, and everything they translate is true. And I can vouch for that because I speak both languages, and
Mm-hmm.
it's bad, man. It's bad. What like and some of them like I've seen myself. They're not good. They literally are teaching kids that these people are less than human, and
Yeah.
that's why I almost don't blame the Muslims. I blame the ideology has been teaching it forever and ever and ever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just brainwashing people in a way.
Exactly.
So, So then I guess that means this when they come up with this line of Islam is the religion of peace. I guess there's just
I
no
mean,
way.
there is peace, once you become Muslim. you can 100% have peace. It's like someone asked me like, can a woman who's not Muslim marry a Muslim man? I wrote this on like ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is like, of course, if she converts to Islam. And I'm like, bro, that's kind of the same logic. It's like, hey, like, will there be peace if Islam spreads throughout the world? Yeah, once everyone converts to Islam, there'll be peace. And it's like, okay, like, so that. Oh my goodness.
And then what you're saying that at one point you're kind of that there's almost this like, oh, maybe ISIS isn't that bad, but like what was the moment where you realized Islam wasn't for you?
It started with the cartoonist in France because
Charlie Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo, yeah,
Mm.
because I was so conflicted. One side of me was like, they deserve to die. The other side was, why? They just drew pictures.
Mm.
Like, it was a conflict in my mind. And my mom's from like the Western world, and she's like, this is terrible. And my dad's like, he didn't believe in killing him, never believed that, but he was like, what do you expect? And I'm just like, so I'm living in these worlds. I'm living in these two worlds, and they're coinciding all the time, and I'm being conflicted. And it really wasn't until I read The Life of Muhammad. And that's why I always tell people, just read The Life of Muhammad. Not from Christian sources or secular sources or whatever. Literal Islamic sources. Read, there's Sirat Rasulullah, which is in Arabic for literally the life of the Prophet of God. And just start reading it. It's written by Ibn Ishaq, one of the people who followed, one of the followers of Muhammad. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, there are people who wrote down the sayings of Muhammad. Me just sitting down when I was 16 and reading them. And I came to the conclusion that me, a 16-year-old, was more moral than Muhammad. My morality was better because I didn't want to have sex slaves. I didn't believe in marrying minors. Surprise, surprise. I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to kill my gay neighbors. Like, these things kept standing up to me. And I couldn't. And I began to realize, because I'm reading this one in Canada now. So, like, I had high school in Canada. Like, my middle school and elementary, I was in Egypt. My high school, I'm in Canada, and I'm reading it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, why is Canadian society so much better? Why? Like, I'm allowed to be Muslim here, and I'm allowed to
Mm.
not be Muslim. I can go outside and be the best Muslim ever, not eat pork, pray 5 times a day, not drink, read my Quran, and no one will bat an eye. Or I can be the worst Muslim ever. I can drink, I can eat all the pork in the world, I can, I don't know, have sex outside of marriage, like, and no one will bat. I'm given this freedom, right? As long as I'm not hurting other people, I'm given this freedom. And in Islam and in the Muslim world, I wasn't given this freedom. So I was finally allowed to question. And by just reading the life of Muhammad, I was like, I understand why the Middle East never progressed. I
Mm.
understand. I understand why we're so backwards. It's because we fought. This is our greatest example. And again, say whatever you want about Buddha, about Jesus, about Krishna. Obviously, I'm a Christian. I think Jesus is Lord, and I think he's the best example ever. But if you want to take it from a secular perspective, say what you want about these people. They never married a minor. They never killed an apostate. They never promoted the death penalty for anything. So that speaks volumes. So when these cultures follow these people, when the Western world follows the Jewish and Christian scriptures, when the Eastern world follows Confucius and Buddha, they really they can never equal to the Muslim world, because the Muslim world's following someone who's literally the sheer contrast of the others. And that's why this whole ideology is not compatible with the West, because of the individuals they're following as role models. The person of Christ on the cross says, Father, forgive them, and love your enemies, and pray for those who persecute you. Muhammad says, kill the infidel, and curse the Christian and Jew, and expand by any means necessary. They're not compatible. I like if I'm going to say anything all day long, that's it. I'm honestly these we have to be we can't we have to put that in our minds, because if we don't, we will fall and they will win. They, as in the ideology of Islam, it will win, and we will be under Sharia law. We cannot think that this is just like any other religion or any other like philosophy or any other political idea. It's not. It's a danger to everyone, especially Muslims. They are the ones who are the most. They are the ones who are the biggest victims of this ideology. So,
Yeah, and I they are just being used as a tool to destroy Western society right now, and so they're a victim in that sense too. But at the same time, if you're aware of what happens when they try to integrate someone from the West, you shouldn't be willing to accept it.
no.
What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So one of the other things too. I've done talks with people, and we talked about the sex slave and how Muhammad allows for concubines. Mm-hmm. We spoke about this in the video, and then this was one of the videos where I had so much pushback from Muslims, and so they said like, well, prove to me that this is the case. So I listed the exact hadith, and so am I right in saying it's the hadith which is the life of Muhammad?
The hadiths are the sayings and teachings of Muhammad. Yes.
Right. So I gave the exact hadith, and I said, look, here, this is, from your own text. To which they said, but that one's not authentic, so that doesn't count. Like, is there any truth to that, or do they just pull this card anytime there's an inconvenient truth?
So there is another hadith, which you're probably going to say is not authentic, but it is, that says that you are allowed to lie under certain circumstances. One is if you're allowed to lie to your wife, if you have another wife, or if you're cheating, or because it would hurt her so much, it would break up the relationship.
Yeah.
Second is you're allowed to lie if two friends are fighting. Let's say you and your friend are fighting. I can tell you that your friend says you're a good person, and I can lie to the other friend saying you're a good person. Like basically to fix arguments. And the third one is to lie during war. Now, listen very carefully. Remember, they are at war with us. They're always at war with us. They're in Dar al-Harb. They're in the house of war right now. The only time they can be at Dar al-Salam, the house of peace, is if they conquer the whole world, right? And everyone becomes Muslim. That's when the house of peace is established. So because you and I are in the house of war, they are allowed to lie to us. They can look us straight in the eye and say, all the hadiths about Muhammad being a bad person is not true. Then you become Muslim, and they can tell you, we lied to you. And then you can never leave Islam because there's a death penalty. You have to notice, like people, like wow. That's how it works. They are encouraged to be deceptive in order to spread the Islamic religion. So again, that's very different from any other religion out there. I don't know of any religion that literally tells you to lie in order to spread the religion. And if you're not lying, to use the sword. So it's not really about convincing you of truth claims. It's about getting you under the veil of Islam, and once you're in, you can never leave. So then your children will be Muslim, and your grandchildren will be Muslim. There'll be more Muslims, and then they'll conquer the world. Then there'll be the house of peace. It's not about you. You're just a pawn to conquer the world.
This is a takia, right? Is that how?
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Takia.
Which literally means like to deceive or to hide the truth. So,
Yeah.
but that hadith, I know which one you're referring to, is 100% authentic. It's so authentic that the verse about right hand possessions in the Quran is in there because of what happened in Muhammad's life. So God allowed that to be part of the Quran because of this event that happened in Muhammad's life, where he allowed people to have sex slaves. Which is interesting enough because even his own followers at the time said that they didn't want to have sexual relations with the people they conquered. So they were asking Muhammad like, "Hey, we just like killed these women's like husbands and they're widows. Some of them are still alive, but they're injured, and I don't want to take them as a wife. Like the same day we just literally killed their husband." And Muhammad said, "Don't worry about it. You're allowed to do that." So the people who are following Muhammad had more morality than Muhammad. Like the more you read into it, the crazier it gets. Like I said, just read his life. Just read the life of Muhammad. It's some of it is actually funny. So there was a guy named Ibn Hisham, and Ibn Hisham wrote the life of Muhammad. And then Ibn Hisham writes that there was so much crazy stuff that I had to leave half of it out. And then we lost his book. And then Ibn Ishaq, but before we lost the book, Ibn Ishaq had it and he copied it again. And in his copy, he said, I had to leave half of what Ibn Hisham left in because of how much crazy stuff it was in it. So the two people, one of them's already lost, said there's so much crazy stuff in this man's life that I don't even believe it. I had to cut out half of it. So it's just God. Like, if this is what we're left with, I couldn't even imagine the literature we had, like the first 100 years of Islam. I couldn't even imagine the stuff that was written down. Like, it would just be crazy stuff. Because even today, we're left with stories where, like, he was leaning on a tree, and once he stopped leaning, the tree got upset, so he started crying. Or stuff like that, like some crazy stuff, man. Like, or like the whole moon splitting in half and then coming back together, and Ryan, yeah. And the only witness was the moon, of course, because no one else saw it. Like, yeah, so it's just crazy stuff, man. Yeah.
I think it was David Wood too. He's talking about the Prophet Muhammad and how there's verses where he's covered in semen and like.
And remember, that's what we're left with. Yeah,
and that's what you're left with, right? Okay.
I couldn't even imagine. Like, if this was like, who included this? Who wrote down that? Like, someone wrote down that he had so much strength, as he had the strength of 70 men, because he could go from wife to wife to wife all night. And I was like, who wrote that? Why was that? Like, did I need to know this? Was it gonna help my life? It's like, you know what I mean? People are writing down about like how to connect with God, how to have a good society, how to divide like the bread and water during hard times. And then, by the way, Muhammad was crazy, man. Like he
he was plowing like all day and night. The guy was an animal.
Why did they put this in?
Because it's even more like, you're right. Like, it's even funnier. It's funny that it's like it's written in the first place. But then there'd be like say, there's people taking out loads of stuff, and they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna keep that bit." No.
That one was good. That one was good. That one's authentic. Oh my goodness! But yeah.
But like, okay, so when you're explaining all this, and maybe it's because you've actually read into it, but why were you able to see that Islam wasn't for you? But what keeps so many people in Islam, do you think?
I think it's like, number one, the fear of death, but even when that's not there, the fear of shunning is a big one. I don't know. Maybe I'm. Can I say retarded? Sure. Maybe I'm retarded. You can blurt stuff out, I'm sure. But
I mean, I would probably argue that you're the opposite of that, because you were able to.
No, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I might be mentally challenged. Okay. I could have had a pretty. You don't know me that well yet, so heads up.
Sure.
So
Sorry, yeah.
I
Go
could
ahead.
have, I could have had a peaceful life, right? I could have just been like, you know what, this is nonsense. But I'm just gonna lay low and not do anything. Have a good life here in Canada, live on a nice, pay half my income to the government. Why not? Just whatever. And but something in me was like, no, this is wrong. I know it's wrong, and I know other people in this community know it's wrong, but they're too scared to say it. And I have one life. I don't know when I'm gonna die. I could die tomorrow. Like someone could just kill me tomorrow, or I can live to be 90 years old. I don't know. But at least I could live my life knowing that I tried to make the world a better place, and I tried to warn people that hey, this has to stop, and we have to help these people. We actually have to really help the Muslims and the people in the West. So again, maybe I'm insane. I was talking to my wife about this like once. I was sitting there in the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep. She's like, "Why can't you sleep?" And I was like, "Babe, do you think I'm an idiot?" She's like, "Why?" Like, I'm not even scared. Like if someone like finds where I live and then breaks all the locks and comes in and like just kills me, I'm not that scared about it because it would kind of prove them right. It would prove me right. Like think about it. If someone ever did something to me, it would prove to the world that it isn't a religion of peace and it's not compatible with Western values. Now, if they don't do anything to me, it would still prove to the world that Islam is not a religion of peace and it's not compatible with Western values because I'm not going to stop talking. And there's this conflict there. And I think, like, I believe God just gave me, like, this peace where I'm just like, I'm at peace, whatever happens with it. And I think a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people don't have they think about they want to live in comfort. They want to just be like, I just want to get married and have kids. Sure, I'll do the 5 prayers in front of my dad, and then I'll go to the mosque every once in a while when people are looking. I'll have alcohol, but I'll ask God for forgiveness later. And they just want to like live this life. They want to. People like to live in denial, and Islam is the motherlode of denial. It is the motherlode. It is so. Muslims are so much denial. It's almost hilarious. It's like you can, like you said, you can literally show them a hadith where it says something terrible, and they'll just straight up lie to themselves and be like, "Yeah, that's not true," and they'll just because it's just easier. Life's easy, man. People don't want to fix their issues. But the thing is, this is not just like, oh, you're wasting money on booze. Maybe you should lose some more weight, or like if you don't stop smoking, you'll die when you're 50, not 70. This is like, oh, if you keep believing this and tell your children, the entire Western society is going to crumble. This is a way higher stake one. Like this is not just about you anymore. This is not just. This is about like your comfort level. Like I'm sorry, screw it. Like
Mm.
my comfort level, screw it. It's not about being comfortable. I could have a very comfortable life, but I chose to sacrifice it to do what I'm doing, and people don't do that. A lot of people do it for different things, but Islam has a heavy price tag. It has your family. It has you can't. I can't go back to Egypt after this. Oh, I'm blacklisted from the Middle East. There's no way. As soon as I land, I'm not. They're stopping. They're not. I'm not even on the plane. Like I'll be in like the Toronto airport trying to go to Cairo, and they're just like locking me up as soon as the plane takes off. I can see it right now. This is not gonna happen. Like I was telling you before the show started, like I can't go to some places in Europe. I can't go to London. I would love to see places in England. I've never seen Stonehenge. I always want to go. It's not gonna happen. Like unless I go with like 10 bodyguards. Before maybe like if I wasn't married, I would go without 10 bodyguards. But now I have like a wife and like God willing, I'll have like family in the future and I'll have children. So I have to think about them too, right? And like they're gonna want their dad. But I can't just now just. I'm really kind of just stuck in North America. Like this is kind of like the Americas is where I'm at now. Like I don't.
Yeah.
I guess I can go to Thailand. No one's gonna hate me there, Australia. But like the closer I get to that holy city, and and like you know what I mean, that circle, the more danger it gets. So like England's pretty dangerous. When I get a little bit closer, I get to Turkey. Woof.
Yeah,
You get
yeah,
down to like
wow.
Saudi Arabia, that's it. We're done. Like we're it's just so if I stay far north, let's say in Canada, no one's gonna touch me here. Like,
I love
but,
we're talking about you literally getting like stabbed or beheaded, and you're just laughing.
I guess so. I don't know. I've come to peace with it, so whatever.
No, no, but you are completely right. You're completely right in the sense that okay, you could live a peaceful life. You could
Hmm.
just mind your own business, bow, pray 5 times a day, do whatever you do. Even if you are Western, even if you're Christian, even if you're not religious, whatever. Like you could just go about your business with your head in the sand. But what about your next generation? What about once you start to deny one thing, evil wins when good people turn a blind
Yes.
eye or whatever. Eventually, you get surrounded, and when you could have actually done something about it, well, now that time is gone. So I'm fully behind you. I think we need to call this stuff out. We need to be aware of it, and need people like yourself who actually can say no, that this is bullshit.
Hmm.
Actually, I had one sec. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, so I had some. Speaking of London, speaking of the UK, I had some stats on just what's
I'm
going
sure.
on in terms of Muslim in the UK. So,
I'm sure they're great.
well, okay, so Muslims had a median average age of 27 years in 2021. The overall population in the UK, however, the average age is 40. Majority of Muslim families in the UK have 3 or more children. The UK, the overall fertility rate is 1.42 children per woman, right? So Muslim families, much bigger. General families in the UK, most people are having 1, maybe 2 kids. And between 2011 and 2021, the Muslim population in England and Wales grew by 44%, from approximately 2.7 million to 3.9 million, increasing its share of the population from 4.8 to 6.5. This is the Office of National Statistics. So, there's a lot of talks in the UK right now. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's a lot of talks about the risk of civil war. How concerned do you think people in the UK should be?
Well, let's take Lebanon for example. Lebanon used to be a majority Christian country. It used to be called the Paris of the Middle East. It was peaceful, it was loving, it was amazing. Christians were like 65, 70% of the population. Now they're 45, 40% of the population. How's Lebanon doing? Not that great. The Muslims became the majority. So we're at like 6, 7%. I'll say like within, by the time we're like 80 or are dead, it's going to be like what, 15, 20% maybe? Could be that big. I'll say our kids, when they're old enough, it's going to be Lebanon.
Hmm.
I don't think we realize like how bad this is. Like again, 100 years ago, how many Muslims were in Europe? Like a handful, and they were all in Turkey, if you want to call that Europe. But the rest of them, the rest of Europe was barely no one knew any Muslims. Now everyone knows Muslims. The most common names now are like Muhammad and Ali. Like if you look at Paris, I think it's like 45%. 45% of people under the age of 30 are from Algerian or Moroccan descent. That's in Paris. So think about it. So 40 years from now, more than half of Paris is just going to be Muslims. What is that going to do to Paris? It's going to make Paris the new Baghdad. That's what they're going to do. It's going to be Nouveau Baghdad. That's what's going to be called. And then like Paris is going to be gone. The Eiffel Tower is going to have a hijab on it. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it's just going to it's like again. And then and women in Paris, like they try to dress like pretty and look beautiful and fashionable. They're going to all be
Right.
wearing garbage bags. Like it's like we're all like that's how it's going to go. And before you know it, you're going to not be able to walk outside of France or on the streets of France without a guardian.
Yeah.
This is, and it's not like overnight. It's like 5 years from now they're like, oh, you know, maybe we should take away ham sandwiches from the schools. 5 years later, I think we should learn some Quran verses in our public schools too. 10 years later, we should have a Muslim Appreciation Month. Let's make it May. May the Muslim Appreciation Month because it all the M's. And our girls, they're going to try on some hijabs, and we're going to tell them that the religion of peace is here. That's how it's going to start. Yeah. It's going to be very small, and before you know it, your own child will be taking you to a Sharia court for drinking alcohol. It's because it's like every other ideology. It's like communism, Nazism, everything. It all starts small. Before you know it, they're in control and you're in prison or dead. So yeah, happy thoughts, guys.
Yeah. No, but we have to be aware of it. And I mean, I don't know about Canada, but in the UK, they are introducing Islam in the schools. There's some schools where you are, taught prayers.
Quebec is doing an amazing job. They're banning it completely. They banned like public prayer for Muslims. They banned it under like public prayer for all religions, but they're really targeting one group. Because they can't just say like under the Canadian Constitution, you can't just be like, yeah, Muslims can't pray outside. Yeah, exactly. Sure. But they're Quebec's just like, yeah, we're gonna ban prayer for everyone in public. And then when they're enforcing it, it's like any Muslim that starts praying, they just kick. And like same in Alberta too. Alberta is becoming really conservative, and like Canada's known as a joke, and it is a joke for a lot of things, especially in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. But Canadians are really fed up. They're really like if you talk to any Canadian, they're really just like we don't want this here. We see what's happening in England. And it's really like not to blame a group of people. It's the boomers. It's everyone over the age of 50 who keeps voting liberal.
Not the blame, and they're just boomers. It was boomers.
But it is like it's just like because they've been fed this lie about Islam's religion of peace. Diversity is our strength. All cultures are equal. And then we're out here on TikTok and Instagram watching people literally blow up at like churches and like town halls under the name of Allah, and we're just like. Really? This is what you think? Because so they keep they like to hear like trigger stuff, and Canada has a huge aging population, so that's why the Liberals are still in power. But I guarantee you, like in like 15 years, they can't be in power anymore. Like because Canada's not gonna become like the UK when it comes to Muslims. It'll become like the UK maybe when it comes to like some censorship stuff. I do think so. I don't think. It's going to be like, oh, we're going to put everyone who puts a comment online in prison. But I do think that it is going to be like hate speech. Maybe I'm too hopeful. Maybe I'm like, please, God, I beg of you. Because I'll have to move to the States. Like I'm crossing the border, man. Like I'm not staying here if they're like putting a bill on where like, yeah, have you seen my Instagram? I'm screwed. Like I'm so screwed. So like I'll be waving that American flag from like Texas. Like yeah. But, But we don't have a Muslim issue that much. We have an immigration issue, but that's just because there's too many immigrants in general. We're putting in so many all at once. But specifically a Muslim issue, I wouldn't say we have a Muslim issue.
Yeah. Well, in the UK, it's kind of like this two-pronged attack because people, similar to yourself, people are waking up to the Islamic problem. And you're right, the UK is way further down the line than where Canada is. But we have this realization like, okay, this isn't going to mix. There's just no way. And at the same time, then we have the online censorship, people who are speaking out against it, people who are trying to like, rally together in a sense. They're now getting arrested, So like both sides, it's almost they are working together. And then when you see
they're pushing us in a corner like that, yeah, they're just pushing us in.
Yeah, big time. So we'll see how it goes, but a lot of people are waking up to it. So
even some states, like because the U.S. it really depends on what state you live in. Like there's some states that are really good, and other states are just as bad as Canada. And it's just
is it like somewhere in Michigan where it's like pretty much Islamic, like completely?
Yeah, dude, Michigan is worse than Canada, like by a long shot. Michigan's in between Canada and UK. That's something like the U.S. is odd because the states are almost like their own individual countries. So like
Yeah.
Michigan is like 10 years, it's going to be the UK, and then New York's probably going to be next the way it's going, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the only places that are going to be left for us is like Kentucky. And we're just gonna have to all be living in like Kentucky or Ohio, like, or just
Texas.
middle.
Texas.
Yeah, that's all we're gonna have. Not even the cities in Texas. Apparently, Austin is like crazy. I've heard, but like we're just to be like literally in the middle of nowhere, just with cows. But that's all
Yeah.
we got. But on it, like we either stay and fight, or we keep going to smaller and smaller communities. And I've actually thought about this. I was like, should I move? Should I? Because the writing is on the wall in Canada, and I think by the time I'm like my kids are my age, it will be as bad as the UK, especially when it comes to censorship. So should I move now? And I've came to the conclusion no, because if we all just keep moving, like to safer places, who's gonna
Exactly.
fight this?
Yeah.
Like I love my country, man. Like I love the U.S. And I love Canada. I love the UK's history. I don't want the UK to fall. The UK is the parent country of Canada. Like our entire government's based off of it. That's where we got all of our laws. That's our history too. And it's just like they're taking over one by one by one. Every country one by one, and it's just enough's enough. And it's almost like the Muslim invasion during the Crusades. It was little by little. It was like Jerusalem, then Antioch, then went up to like Asia Minor, and then went to Byzantium, and eventually they're like, enough's enough. You can't just keep taking our land.
Mm.
And that's like eventually we're all going to say is enough, and we're going to go back. We're going to take back our land. And I hope, I pray it doesn't end up being a civil war. I pray there's some revival where we come to peace, where there's a Muslims go back to the Muslim countries, and people who want to be in the West are in Western countries. But I think the odds of that are like 2%.
Yes. Yeah. Because what is there another thing with jihad? Like once something is conquered, then it is essentially it's promised to Islam or something. Like I
Yes.
think they think that way of Spain. Is it?
Yeah, Spain is supposed to be. Once Muslims conquer a land, it should always be Muslim.
Right.
So,
Right.
in theory, if they conquered England and then we make the treaty somehow, whatever this is, they would have to argue like we have to have England because it's our land,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a negotiable thing for us. Like, no,
Right.
you go
Right.
all you have to go back to Arabia. Like you go
So
back to where the religion's from, and then the Christians and Jews in Arabia and all the other people they can live here because obviously you're not treating them right. So that's but I don't. They're not going to agree to that. So again, that conflict. There's no peace. It's always conflict.
right. Is there a term for that? The reconquering or whatever.
There is a term, but I can't think of it. But there is a concept of it that like once Muslims take over a place, it's destined to always be Muslim. So ISIS literally said we want to reconquer from Spain all the way back to Malaysia. They want to reestablish it as their Muslim nation
Right.
because they always see that as the Muslim nation. They just see us like as conquerors of Spain, which is
Mm.
very ironic. It's like insanely ironic, but yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it would be fair to say then, from Spain's perspective, the only way long term it would be 100. Well, besides all the other issues going on in the world, but the only way it could be safe from Islam is if Islam was completely taken off the map.
The only option is everyone from Spain who doesn't want to live under Sharia law would have to move because the Muslims are not going to stop, or all Muslims become non-religious overnight. I don't so.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And at this point, I don't even know what they would consider conquered or not conquered. Like they haven't technically conquered France or England and stuff, but like Albania, they might consider that conquered because they're half the percentage there.
Wow.
So there would have to be a lot of agreements to this. Like there would have to be talks, like actual talks. If the Muslim Empire comes back, there will have to be a Western organization that comes together and have a literal like diplomatic conversation with, hey, this is where you can have your Sharia law. But remember, they're always going to eventually want to conquer us because their goal is to conquer the entire world eventually. So they'll agree with us for a period of time, but eventually use taqiyya to conquer us again. It's almost like, man, I'm going to be so hated for this. Imagine if like the Black Death had a consciousness. Imagine if a disease had a consciousness where it's like, shoot, they're getting a cure. I'll make an agreement with them, but then I'll trick them by evolving a little bit more in the future and then break the cure. This is like literally how it's thinking. It's almost, it's not even like, it's like Islam's a person. Like it has a consciousness to it. It's very interesting.
So, I mean, and then you could say, right, because of things like the Crusades and stuff, you could say, well, like from a Muslim's perspective, like, well, you guys are just as evil. You know, you're willing to kill us. But it was like you've already said, you know, Crusades were invading Europe. And this wasn't an aggression from Christianity. This was a response. So this is where, like, okay, this is now self-defense. Anytime self-defense, anytime that innocent people are being killed and murdered, that is justified.
They always say the Crusades happened, but they never say why it happened. No one ever asked. People didn't just wake up one day in the middle of like Denmark and was like, "Yo, I want to go to Jerusalem and kill people." That didn't happen. Like there was a reason why people left their homes in Europe and went to places they never been to before. Because the Christians there were literally being killed overnight by Muslims. Like it was insanity. They were being butchered, and so it was defensive war. Did bad things happen in Crusades? Sure. Like it's the Middle Ages. I don't know. I couldn't control everyone. Like it's not like we had like footage to see like who's doing what. But the whole purpose of the Crusades was to defend Christian lands from invasion.
Right.
If the Muslims didn't try to conquer Constantinople and Jerusalem and Antioch and Egypt, the Crusades would never happen. There would have been no reason for them. So yeah.
Being that you know the mentality of Islam, and I can see this too, that this kind of is not willing to compromise. Like you say, the ultimate goal is for Islam to be completely around the world.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, as a Christian especially, someone, Christianity, its doctrines are about peace, its doctrines are about loving, forgiveness and stuff. You can see the danger coming from Islam, but being that you're Christian, you've almost got this more relaxed, more like say peaceful stance, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you kind of how do you stand in the middle of that? Because you can't allow this evil to progress, but at the same time, because Christianity being what it is, how are you supposed to fight that realistically?
I think the only answer is self-sacrifice. I think the core of Christianity is Christ crucified, like the God of the universe sacrificing himself for us. And by doing that, he conquers the world, right? And in a way, when we are self-sacrificed by, like, for example, there was who's the man who wrote the satanic verses? Salman Rushdie. When he self-sacrificed himself to write this literature, to talk about this thing, he could have, like, he had to move places, he had to have bodyguards all the time. He gave self-sacrifice. But at what cost? For truth. And the thing is, Islam is a deceptive religion, a deceptive ideology. It is, God in Islam is called the great deceiver, Khair al-Makirin, but truth always wins. Truth will never not win. The same thing right now. Because of the internet, we know the truth of Islam, we know the truth of Muhammad's life, We know how it spread. We know how it's going to spread in our countries. Therefore,
Yeah.
I can only pray and wish that self-sacrifice, where we sacrifice ourselves to say the truth, is the only way forward. Because that's what the early Christians did in the Roman Empire. And a good example of this was Saint Ignatius of Antioch, where he self-sacrificed himself in front of a whole crowd, and he was eaten by lions. But the tale goes that people in the crowd converted because of his faith. And I know people personally who have converted to Christianity or have left Islam, are both who, because of people like fighting against this ideology and religion, simply saying, no, this is wrong, this is what the text actually says, they're able to wake up and see it. Because if it wasn't for people who told me the truth, I wouldn't be where I'm at. That's all we can do, is tell the truth. And I think truth and love are the only two things we have. Those are the weapons we have. Those are our shield and our sword. So
Yeah. This goes back and forth in my mind all the time. But you're right. I mean, even I think about Charlie Kirk too. To bring him up again. But and he has, obviously, there was so many people on the left who just despise the man, which really, really sad to see, obviously. Even to speak ill of anyone, even if I disagreed with them, to speak ill of the dead, this should be the thing which most people can agree of is wrong, right? But him dying has had a huge effect in so many people going back to church. I went back to church because of this. Again, I'm not saying I'm fully fledged Christian, but I'm definitely at least looking into it. I've seen the effect on me, and I could see so many other people coming to church for that reason as well. So there is truth to that,
How many people would not be doing this if he didn't die, right? Like, I'm not saying he should have died. Like, of course, no one should die for just saying things. But, like, the Christian faith teaches that God takes what Satan does for evil and makes it good. So things that happen for evil in this world eventually make us better people. So Islam, an evil ideology, will make us better people by making us stronger in our faith, stronger in our country, more patriotic, and more protective of our own families. There's always a good. And that's what we have to focus on. And that's what we have to preach. And that's what we have to tell Muslims, too. That we're not just defending our countries and our values because we don't like Muslims or something. Like, no, like, this is our history and our culture, and this is what we stood for. It's what our people fought for ages, and this is why we're here. And this is what we want you to have. It's just what you're believing in is destroying the world, really.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the values that we take for granted, people who don't quite realize how important they are, they're going to be the ones who are more likely to be accepting of a foreign mentality, ideology.
Exactly.
But and you're right. The power of martyrdom is huge, and that is what brought people to the church after Charlie Kirk, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So just to go back a little bit, so you were saying you're blacklisted 10 countries.
Yes. So I was in Southern California, and I met up with a friend that actually went to that same school, and we were talking about this, and he knew someone who could check if you're like blacklisted or something, and I was like, I should check that. So I found someone else who could check if I was blacklisted, and there's like a list of countries that are like, if I land in, there's like a 9 out of 10 chance that like they're stopping me pretty quickly. Like, so
okay, so you weren't even aware.
I wasn't even aware. I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm not that famous. And I check, and he's like, yeah, you can't go here, you can't go here. Some of them were funny. He's like, yeah, you can't go to Somalia or Eritrea. And I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Like, so I was like, how dare I not go to Somalia? So it's just I couldn't really care less about those ones. Some of them kind of sucked. Like Morocco was one, and I was like, I would want to go to Morocco and just see the culture. But now I'm just like, yeah, I can't do that. So there's just a few countries, like 10-ish countries that I cannot go to, and I'm sure the list is gonna grow. But yeah.
Well, so let's take someone like I mean, so you've been blowing up, going viral, but like you say, you weren't even aware that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
If we took someone like Andrew Tate, do you think if he was like he might even have doubts in his mind that Islam isn't for him anymore, but if he ever was to convert to Christianity, be an atheist, would he ever be safe?
So there's difference because Andrew Tate wasn't born a Muslim. There's more leeway. So like he can have doubts and even leave, and we won't kill him yet. We'll give him more time. But because I was born a Muslim, the stakes are a lot higher. A greater example would be like a good example is there was this guy in Egypt actually who converted to Christianity, and he told a few people about it and made a post. Just made a post on Facebook. He's charged with terrorism in Egypt now. The irony, he's charged with terrorism and like 10 years imprisonment because he's terrorizing the country with dangerous ideas. So
yes, I like this is what I don't get with being an apostate. So you're, like you say, some countries you're put to death, some you're imprisoned, but it's seen as treason.
It's treason. Yes.
I can understand, like, okay, with Edward Snowden, absolute hero, but what he did was he exposed the government for spying on its own people. So I can understand why the government would want to be like hush hush about that. But in terms of like leaving Islam to maybe be a Christian, you're not harming anyone. You're not really like.
In Islam, you are. In Islam, you are because you can convince other people to leave. And if people can leave freely, Islam will fall very quickly.
Right, this domino effect.
Exactly. So there was actually an imam. It's in Arabic, but I may be able to send it to you later. But he was actually saying on live TV in the Middle East that like if it wasn't for the death penalty, Islam would have died with Muhammad. And there were actually apostate wars after Muhammad's death. Most people don't know about this, but there were apostate wars where people left Islam in numbers, like huge numbers after Muhammad's death. And what happened was the apostate wars, where they were like, no, you can't do this. Like, because he said if you leave the religion, you have to be put to death. And his companions literally like got armies and killed these people. Like huge towns. Huge towns left after Muhammad died. Which says a lot to their loyalty to this religion. They were just loyal to it for, I don't know, they didn't want to pay high taxes, or they're like, oh, once this is over, we can go back to normal. But half of them literally just apostate at once, like the Prophet died.
Wow.
So yeah. So if it wasn't for the law of apostasy, Islam would have died with Muhammad.
And like your dad, being a devout Muslim, he still is, right?
Yes, he still is. I'm the only Christian in the family.
Are you like on good terms, or is that kind of awkward now?
Surprisingly, I am.
Oh, great.
I don't know how, but the first few years it was very bad. But now it's like I go have dinner with them. Like we have a good time. We don't talk about things that are going to cause issues. But then I'm confused though because my dad has like a library, like not a library, he has a bookshelf. He has a bookshelf in his house, and he has the hadiths and stuff in Arabic, and he reads them. And I'm like, aren't you reading what I read? Like you've read this your entire life, and you're still believing it. And I guess it's the power of denial, man. I don't know. I don't understand how. My dad's like 60 something. Like the chance of him changing his mind, like I pray he does, but he's at peace with his life and he's trying to figure out his own thing. And I don't know. He's very much integrated into Canadian society, and he would be horrified if I'll give you a great example. So there was this one Syrian guy, and he said that we should save only the Muslim people who are dying on the streets, not everyone else. And my dad was like, "No, that's insane. You have to save everyone." So like my dad's values are quite good for Islamic values, but which confuses me more because so you integrated to Canada, you became a citizen, you're doing amazing here, you're a great person, you started off with nothing, and now he's doing very good for himself. He had no English, he speaks fluent English now, but somehow you're still believing in this religion. I don't get the contradiction. I don't know how people can contradict these two things in their minds so easily.
Yeah.
And he's able to live peacefully and not practice the violent parts. Whereas my brother, on the other hand, I feel like my brother is actually becoming more and more radical. Now, this is an interesting thing, and maybe we can do a podcast another time. This is a huge subject, but I've noticed that second and third generation immigrants, Muslim immigrants, are more religious and more radical than the first generation. And I've seen it with my own eyes and my family. My dad literally said when the October 7th war started, he said that we have to stop fighting for land. We need to have a place where Jews and Arabs can live in peace. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
My brother, on the other hand, out protesting in the street from the river to the sea, Palestine's going to be free. He thinks Israel is the worst thing in the world. Say what you want about the government, but he's like all of them have to leave and go back to Europe. Like, oh yeah, Boaz, who was 6 years old, who was just born there in 2009, but he's the guy. Yeah, he's the guy who colonized quote unquote Palestine. Like, you know what I mean? This ridiculous like statements. Like, these people are here now. Like, this is the countries we've inherited. We can't just throw people out of this land. Like, this again, like that's a very completely different discussion. But it's just like the people who fought in the wars. My dad was in the Egyptian military. I know Lebanese people who are in the Lebanese military who were in Lebanon when there was wars happening between these countries, and they're like, "No, we can't fight anymore. Like, we just gotta live in peace. Like, Arab Jews live. Who cares?" Meanwhile, the second and third generation here are hating each other for a country they've never been to. Some of them never even been there. They don't even speak Arabic or Hebrew or whatever. They have no, because they're indoctrinated by left wing values and media telling them that like they are the ones who are going to save the Western world, and I'm like, man, get a job. I don't just man, go to work, bro. Like, this is not to my my family. This is in general. Like, all these people doing this, like, just. Do you even know what do you ever watch those videos where like they're just like what river and what sea, and they don't even know what they're talking about? Like, I'm just like, bro, like, you don't know what you're talking about, man. You have no idea what you're talking about. Like, just, and then it makes anti-Semitism rise, and that makes anti-Arab hate rise. It's just so stupid, and I'm just like, how are the older Arab generation is like, this has to stop, and the younger Muslim generation is like, yo, we have to like fight jihad. Like, when ISIS, think about ISIS. When ISIS happened, hundreds and thousands of people from European countries, from North America, from Canada and the US, fled and went to Syria to fight for them, while Muslims from Syria left because ISIS was killing them. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
The Muslims who were living in the West left the Western world to fight against the Muslims who are leaving to come to the Western world. So the Muslim, like, we talked about, I don't know if it was before the podcast, we talked about this. Like, I would feel safer in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Qatar than I would in London or Paris, because the Muslims that are in the Western world are having what's it called, a conflict in their mind, and 9 times out of 10, it's the Muslim one that wins, where the Muslims in the Muslim world don't have this conflict, and 9 times out of 10, the Muslims in the Muslim world become Westernized. So 9 times out of 10, the people in the Muslims in the Muslim world become more like Western, and 9 times out of 10, the Muslims in the Western world become more Muslim. So like, some ex-Muslims feel safer in like some Muslim countries. I would feel safer in Indonesia than I would in London, for example, or Paris.
Yeah, and you also,
or some neighborhoods of New York. So yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right though. You're right though, and you did bring up a good point. And I find that there is just this like polarization. You know, like if you talk anything, we're not going to obviously talk about it, but just before we end, you know, you talk about anything which is anti-Muslim, well, suddenly you're for Israel, and you speak against Israel, and then suddenly you're against the stuff going on in Palestine. And I think everyone can see what's going on over there is just horrible. And I certainly don't, you know, we should be allowed to criticize, you know, the government of Israel for sure, like you say.
Mm.
Too many people are scared of this nowadays, but still, I know it's getting probably pretty late for you. I just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. And
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Ishmael, yeah, thank you,
Anytime,
because
man.
you've opened my eyes a lot to the reality of the kind of mindset to Islam as well.
I try my best. I just start talking and people like it apparently. So there you go.
Dude, it was awesome. Awesome. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed our show. As you can see, our content can be a tad controversial at times. Because of that, the algorithm really doesn't like us. The good news is that's where you can. If you like us and you want to support us, the easiest ways are to like, comment, and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but it means the world to us here at BluntClarity. On top of that, we've made a list of some of our favorite videos, which you can find right here. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Enjoy.